Welcome to the chapter 263 leaks. Judging from what I've seen, this is going to be a pretty solid chapter, but I'm going to drop the bad news right away so we can only go up from here. Jujutsu Kaisen's on break again. Bro came back, dropped a chapter and a half and dipped. But look, I got no excuses for y'all this time around. Even I'm speechless. But I'm gonna be running some heavy PR throughout the whole week. Trust me, y'all. The Gay PR team is we pulling up. With that said, I'm gonna stop wasting y'all time. But if you enjoy content such as this, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And now, let's get into the spoilers. So the chapter immediately begins with the domain clash just getting shattered. We don't see the result of the purple or nothing like that until the next page, but the whole thing just collapses and that's all we see, nothing else. Next, we see that Sukuna comes out of the barrier and his skin is torn to shreds and there's blood all over his face and whatnot. And he's like, even my barrier was destroyed at the same time. So due to this, we know what happens. Both of their curse techniques are going to be burnt out, both his and Yuta's. And I ain't gonna lie, bruh, this better be the final stretch of the fight because Yuta, Yuji, and Todo jumping the burnt out Sukuna at the same time, and he's now weaker than ever before. Come on, we in the final chapters of this, guys. Like we're at the finish line. Anyway, Sukuna begins to speak again, and he's like, Yuta managed to pull off the technique. Even if purple is his ultimate technique, he's still not used to using it. Sukuna does say that Yuta successfully used it, but judging from these translations, I'm guessing that it wasn't as potent as Gojo's because, you know, Yuta again just isn't used to using the purple. And we finally get our boys back. Todo and Yuji immediately spring into action. They run straight in the fight alongside Yuta after the domain clash is over. Todo asks Yuta to spam as many purples as he can once he recovers his curse technique and to not worry about them getting caught in the crossfire because he can just teleport Yuji and himself out the way using his boogie woogie. Yo, y'all can tell Todo been reading the YouTube comments of the reviews. Another thing to note here is that contrary to popular opinion, Yuji has no reaction towards seeing Yuta using Gojo's body. He's just locked in, and honestly, I hope all of us would be in this situation. Let that boy cry after they done whooping Sukuna's ass. Anyway, after our heroes line up and start charging towards Sukuna, it's revealed that, like I mentioned previously, Sukuna cannot use his curse technique due to the domain expansion. You guys know this is like the normal stuff in Jujutsu Kaisen. But this also applies to Yuta. And guess what happens? Yuta immediately drops because Kenjaku's curse technique has also stopped. The narrator then explains that Kenjaku's technique, which Yuta had copied, got burnt out once the domain expansion broke. So even before 5 minutes could pass, Kenjaku's technique was halted. Yuta then speaks. He says, damn it, Rika not haunting this body means that copy is no longer mine, making limitless the burnt out technique, but I thought I would still be able to use Kenjaku's. Was there some trick behind Kenjaku being able to use his technique immediately following the domain expansion? I didn't take in any information like that when I copied the technique. I at least want to deploy a barrier for those two's sake. And guys, if you've been on this channel, you know Kenjaku's technique's got a twist, and we're gonna find it at the end of the 5 minutes. I swear up and down, man. There's a reason why this is the only technique that has not been fully explained yet. We have Sukuna and Uroume's techniques explained before Kenjaku's. Todo then notices Yuta reaching his limit and admires Sukuna for not loosening up his offense. And Todo says, I guess this is why they call him the King of Curses. Noticing Todo being distracted, Sukuna immediately rushes in and lands a black flash on him. To clarify this, Sukuna saw that Todo was not looking at him for a split second and charged at him first. Fire battle IQ. Sukuna then notices that Yuji's trying to reach toward him to attack, and he turns around to defend himself from Yuji, but Todo instantly teleports Yuji behind Sukuna, and Todo's like, I ain't done yet. And this allows Yuji to land a bunch of punches on Sukuna's face, and Todo's just smacking the Viper Slap on his head in order to use his technique since I guess he can't use his hands anymore. Or he's doing it for the love of the game because can't front, he still got his arm. I don't know why he doing that, but he doing it. Todo would then say Kotsu, that bundle of curse energy. He still has shards of the barrier floating around. Until these shards disappear, there is no greater stage on which Boogie Woogie can shine. And that's, Todo is a genius, so he's using the cursed energy shards to activate his technique. As you guys know, anything imbued with cursed technique can be used as a swap or a device for Todo to move people around. The 5 billion IQ play from the genius. And just like in chapter 259, 260, one of those two chapters, we'd get another double spread of Todo using the Boogie Woogies to have Yuji just teleport all around Sukuna, as Sukuna is just confused. And this roulette ends with Yuji hitting a dismantle perfectly at the barrier between Sukuna and Megami's soul. And as this happens, Yuji saying, "I'll do this as many times as it takes, Megami, come back." Sukuna is then shocked as he realizes that Yuji can selectively choose the targets of his technique. Yuji was currently shooting dismantle after dismantle at the barrier between Sukuna and Megami's soul. Sukuna backs away as he thinks that if he continues taking these attacks, he will not be able to maintain this body and he will lose. Sukuna throws up some of his fingers and consumes them again. So Yuji just punched the fingers out of Sukuna. He threw them shits up. And I cannot make this up. Sukuna says that Yuji has used a binding vow that will ensure that Yuji's strikes will more effectively tear away Sukuna's soul from Megami's body. Yuji's recognizing game and he's stealing it. So just like chapter 257, Sukuna tries to get distance from Yuji by hopping on top of a pillar, but Yuji uses his cleave and cuts down the pillar and tries to land another punch, but Sukuna is able to dodge it midair and counter by striking Yuji back and sending him flying into a wall, and there's like a big ass crater. After this happens, Sukuna begins to think. He says, if I simply avoid Yuji's attacks, they'll have no other moves that can really affect me. Todo thinks that if my spare fiber slap is not recognized as my left hand, it's not gonna function, but I need it to function just one more time if this is the case. Todo then slaps his vibra slap, but there was no swap. Sukuna grins as he prepares to face Yuji, but Todo once again uses his vibra slap. But it's not Sukuna or Yuji who gets swapped. It's Hana Kurusu with Angel's Curse technique that got swapped this time, and she's directly above Sukuna's head, preparing a Jacob's ladder. And the vibra slap breaks for the final time. It's done. This basically means Todo is out the fight, and the narrator says that through the use of the binding vow, his curse technique range had been extended. He most likely exchanged the vibra slap in order to get Hana in here and make this whole Jacob's ladder happen. And we then enter a flashback to Yuta discussing with Hana as she was getting treated for her wounds against Sukuna. Angel says that their role ends once Hana is able to free Gojo from the seal, but Hana is worried about Megami as she asks what would happen to him if they were to beat Sukuna or, in this battle. Yuta apologizes to Hana and Angel as he says that they may have to rely on their curse technique in the end. He asks him to fire a Jacob's ladder as the finishing blow to Sukuna. And it's really looking like this is finally gonna end, man. It needs to end. Yuta says that this is an all or nothing gamble to attempt to split Sukuna and Megami's soul. Yuta then explains that when an opponent faces him, all they think about is what and how many techniques Yuta has copied and kept in stock, but they never stop to think of the possibility of the original user of the technique appearing in battle to assist him. Especially those who know the condition of his copy fall into the trap of thinking that Yuta has taken away the technique rather than thinking that he's just replicating it. Yuta says that the true strength of his copy technique is the ability to have two of the same cards in his hand. For those who are going to get confused by this, he's basically saying that if he has a partner, he can copy their technique and they can both use it at the same time or use it at different times in order to confuse the opponent and just add another layer of deception to their battles. As judgment has been cast against the insatiable demon, the chapter ends with Hana blasting a maximum output Jacob's ladder in order to finish off Sukuna. The results of this technique are unknown. With this said, guys, it's obviously gonna fail and it'll be a very weakened Sukuna against Yuji and Yuji alone. Todo's out of the battle because his vibra slap broke, Yuta's out of the battle because Kenjaku's technique is burnt out, and Hana will not stick around. It will be Yuji versus Sukuna from here on out, and we'll finally get that 1v1 to end this arc. With that said, thank you for watching, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.